Give it about 30 more seconds and then we will get started.
I do believe that our discussion items today do not call for any voting or action. So I believe the only action that we would have today would be approving our agenda and also the minutes of last meeting.
Mr. Vice Chair, I do believe you just made quorum.
All right.
Mendoza joining us. So we are at 8 by the skin of our teeth.
All right, wonderful. All right, let's get this going so we can call this meeting to order at 7:01. I'm not sure if we'll be showing any slides up front.
Let me just share my screen here.
Also, not sure, is Jill joining us today or are we just taking the lead?
Jill is not joining us, so you'll lead the meeting and I'll fill in as in Jill's facilitation role, and hopefully we will get done early.
Wonderful. And before we call roll, just a friendly reminder for folks to stay muted if you aren't speaking during the presentation. Just remember, folks can use the Q&A feature. And also for my fellow commissioners, two things. One, I will be leading today's meeting. Our chair is out today. And two, if you are making a motion, I please ask if you could say your name before, just to help Dawn and I with keeping track of who's making motions. And we have quorum, so we can do that today. So let's get started. Danica, would you like to call the roll, please?
I would love to. So normally I begin with Chair Wendy, but we know she's not with us today, so she is absent. Vice Chair Magana.
I am present.
Wonderful. Commissioner Snyder. Absent. Commissioner Rivers.
I'm present.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramtekar. Absent. Commissioner Thorson.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Uri Chu.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Trudell.
Present.
Great. Commissioner Allen.
Present.
Commissioner Malillo.
Here.
All right, you have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you, Danica. Thank you, folks, for coming today. Thank you, folks who are tuning in. Appreciate that. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. I don't believe there are any changes to the agenda. Is that correct, Ann and Danica?
That is correct.
If there are no changes, would like to recommend a motion to approve the agenda.
Approval. Janice Allen.
Moved by Janice. Do I have a second?
Second by Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Second by Michael. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will do a verbal vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion passes. Agenda approved. So thank you all for that. We'll move on to the next piece, which is the consent calendar, which we have approval of the minutes, as well as I don't believe we have any correspondence. Is that correct?
No correspondence. You are correct.
With that being said, apologize if you hear any crying in the background. Any changes or updates to the minutes? If not, a recommendation to approve the consent calendar.
Move approval. Janice Allen.
Motion by Janice Allen, or Commissioner Allen. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by, we'll give it to Commissioner Rivers. We'll give you the next one, Tom.
Oh, joy.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a verbal vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? And any abstentions? All right, seeing none, motion carries. We will move on to our next piece. I believe we are now moving on to public record. I don't believe we have any correspondence. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have none.
Awesome. And then we'll move on next to open forum. So of course, members of the public are invited to speak on any item that does not appear on today's agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Meeting attendees will be given 2 minutes to speak on any discussion item and or during open forum. The time limit is in the discretion of the chair of the meeting and may be limited when appropriate. Speakers using a translator will be given twice time allotted to ensure non-English speakers receive the same opportunity to directly address the committee, board, or commission. We'll hold the space for 2 minutes. If I don't believe we have any folks for public comment, is that correct? But we'll still hold the space for 2 minutes.
All right.
Mr. Vice Chair, you have public comment from Benjamin Martinez, who's raised his hand. Mr. Martinez will allow you to talk. Danica, can you start keeping time, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Martinez. You have 2 minutes. I'm not sure if we're able to hear you, Mr. Martinez.
Dropped out of our attendees list, so he may have lost connection.
No, I promoted him to panelist because of the issue with the audio. Ben, can you hear us?
Oh, okay.
Ben, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
And we really want to, because we barely ever get anyone from the public.
Exactly. I'm really excited to have someone speak.
Has anyone chatted with him? Here, let me try.
Can hold a little bit longer to make sure they have the opportunity to respond. Thank you for everyone's patience. We appreciate it.
Of course. And I'd like to let everyone know that while we wait to be able to hear from Mr. Martinez, this is not eating into his 2 minutes. So
Thank you.
So presuming that he is able to read English, I did give him a message in English asking him to unmute, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, this Mr. Martinez is actually one of SJPL's employees. We know.
Oh, okay.
oh,
Oh, he
And
says he's trying to
Trying to
trouble. Oh, you can see it. Trying to
yeah.
troubleshoot.
Would it be out of order to move on and then come back to that component? I want to be able to give folks the opportunity to speak, but also knowing tech difficulties could take some time as well. Also knowing presentations can take some time as well. Just curious if that's a point that we can do.
Yeah, since he's able to use the chat, Ben, would it be okay if we moved on to our first agenda item, which is the annual education and digital literacy report, and then we could open public comment again after that item closes? I think this is probably a Zoom update issue where you would need to close out, update Zoom, and then come back in, and so that might take some time.
also, I believe we can move forward in the agenda to any item. If we want to revisit a previous item, we can vote to then revisit a previous item.
And it looks like he dropped out of the meeting, so I would encourage us to move on, and then Danica and I will monitor it and bring us back around at the close of the next item.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Wonderful. One more quick check is, are there any other folks that may be interested in providing public comment?
No one else has raised their hand. Oh, Ben just came back in under a different.
Fingers crossed.
Ben, can you hear us? Ben, we still can't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue and we'll come back around.
All right, thank you. Thank you folks for everyone's patience with this. We were really excited about having folks come speak. So hopefully we can be able to have the opportunity to come back to it, to hear from folks from the community. So thank you again. Up next, we are going to have a presentation on education and digital literacy annual report. And I believe this is your presentation, correct? You and someone else?
Yeah, I'm actually going to kick it on over to Vidya Kalambi, our division manager overseeing this whole wonderful world. So Vidya, please take us away.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Vidya Kalambi, division manager for education and innovation with the library. And I'm very excited and happy to present our annual update on the implementation of the education and digital literacy strategy. Next slide, please. So as you know, the EDL strategy was approved by City Council on May 7, 2018, organized into the following strategic action areas: early education, expanded learning, college and career readiness, digital literacy, and policy and governance. Staff, after the initial approval, staff approached the work of the EDL strategy by prioritizing the values of equity, of access to quality educational experiences by actively removing barriers, opportunity to experience a wide variety of educational options, and the quality of program offerings illustrated by establishing standards for student learning and assessing program efficacy. And last but not least, accountability to our youth and their families when assessing any program or investing in learning and investments in learning and education. So next slide, please. The education will be presented by Araceli and Laura.
Thank you, Vidya. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Araceli Delgado Ortiz, and I'm the Early Education Manager for the San Jose Public Library. I'm joined tonight by Laura Buzo, Recreation Superintendent with the Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department. Tonight, we'll be sharing information on our efforts in the area of early education. Next slide, please. Upon approval of the Early Education Quality Standards in March of 2019, the library and the Parks and Recreation Neighborhood Services Department initiated and continued efforts to ensure that city-sponsored programs for children ages 0 to 5 aligned with adopted early education quality standards. To initiate this work, each department identified city programs and quality standards area in which to develop targeted assessments and quality improvement plans. In its first year of implementation, the early education quality standards for the library, we focused on story times, which have the potential to play a critical role in school readiness and the development of early literacy skills. Annually, the library provides over 4,500 story times throughout the city, reaching approximately 28,000 children a year. The Parks, Recreation, Neighborhood Services Department focused their year one implementation efforts on the recreational preschool program, which citywide garners an attendance of over 650 preschool children every single year. Next slide, please. The library was very confident in their ability to raise early learning quality opportunities for families by adopting and implementing the quality rating and assessment system. We began by laying the groundwork for implementation in April of 2019. First, we developed a comprehensive execution plan for the year. We reached out to our partners in the field of early learning for support. Since there are not currently standards available in the field of library science for storytime and storytime curriculum, the team quickly got to work on developing tools based on research and best practices in child development, early learning, and early literacy. By mid-June, standards for the storytime were developed, as well as curriculum that aligned to the California Preschool Learning Foundations. A pre-assessment of the early education quality standards was conducted at the end of June. And in July of 2020, the library launched the new storytime standards and curriculum at 24 of the library locations throughout the city. The library spent much of the year focusing on investing in professional development. Over 50 story times were observed and provided immediate feedback to staff. It also provided the library insight into staff training and resource needs. In March, we closed our physical location due to COVID, but by the end of the month, we had already pivoted to our virtual programming. In June, we began conducting our post-early education quality standards assessment. We allowed space for reflective practice and used the post-assessment information to guide year 2 quality improvement plans. Next slide.
Good evening, Commissioners. Laura Buzo with Parks and Recreation and Neighborhood Services. As mentioned, in our first year of implementing the early education quality standards, we looked at our recreation preschool program. As I had mentioned in a previous presentation, we have 2 recreation preschool models that we launched in fiscal year 1920. In our SEEDS pilot site, we implemented a SEEDS curriculum as well as pre and post assessments. And the other portion of our recreation preschool programs, we maintain the traditional instruction model. So you will see here in this table, we have the assessments from our SEEDS pilot sites next to our traditional recreation preschool program. And as you can see, the programs in which we implemented the SEEDS curriculum and the evaluation assessment tools, we scored slightly higher in the rubric with an overall rating of 1.75, the traditional model with 0.875. We can tell you that the increase overall was 1.3, and the difference again is related to the SEEDS pilot site in that we implemented a standard curriculum across the board. We implemented child level assessments as well as classroom environmental assessments. And utilizing these tools elevated the overall quality of the SEEDS pilot sites. This was a great learning opportunity. It indicates that when you implement these standardized tools, you elevate the overall quality of the recreation preschool program. Along with this process, we also developed quality improvement plans to ensure that we continue to elevate the overall quality of the recreation preschool programs, always moving towards continuous quality improvement. Next slide.
Danica, I'm sorry, can I get you to go back 2 more slides? I wanted to make sure I noted something on the previous slide really quickly.
Of course, just tell me when to stop.
Sure, thank you. Perfect. I want to make sure that I also know that the library utilized the early education quality assessment tool to assess all 25 locations. So, I think there's a mix up in the slides. I'm looking if you can go 1 more ahead, Danica.
All right, 1 more ahead.
Perfect. This is the one I needed.
Oh, great.
The library utilized the Early Education Quality Standards Assessment Tool to assess all 25 library locations on each of the 8 program quality standards. Based on the findings from the pre-assessment, library staff were able to make infrastructure and programmatic changes and implement a best practice, which resulted in a 1.5 increase in quality within the first year of implementation. The library ranked higher in the areas of early learning environment, staff training and development, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. Due to the pandemic and program closures, staff were unable to complete the desired work in the quality area number 7, family engagement and partnership, but made it a priority in implementation year 2. The results from the implementation of the Early Education Quality Standards tool highlights the great strides that staff made to move from basic to proficient within the first year of implementation. Thanks so much, Danica.
No problem.
Go ahead.
All right, just let me know when to stop.
Perfect. And Laura just did that one. If we can move 1 more. Perfect. 1 more back. Sorry about that.
1 more back. Okay.
1 more back. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So a little bit more about implementation for year number 2. Special emphasis in year 2 implementation is being placed on increasing positive outcomes for children and families in our community through training and on strengthening families, protective factors framework, and trauma-informed supports for children. The inclusion of strengthening families framework and the self-assessment tool will be used to improve the lowest score and advance the library standing from basic not met to proficient in early education quality standard area number 7, family engagement. Also, to ensure that staff have the necessary resources to provide high quality programming, the library is also partnering with experts from San Jose State University's Early Childhood Institute to review, analyze, and assess the recently implemented virtual storytime programming as part of the year 2 implementation of the early education quality standards. This in-depth analysis of early education quality standard number 3, curriculum and teaching practices, will determine the veracity and efficiency of these programmatic changes as the library continues to explore the reach of virtual programming for the community. Laura?
Yes. So fiscal year 2020, as you know, due to the pandemic, we had to redesign our SJRP model. We were able to launch two instructional approaches, one in person, which limited the number of children that we could serve in adherence to the public health guidelines, limiting our classroom to up to 12 children per classroom. In addition, we were able to provide a virtual recreation preschool class. The focus of our work this year has been around child development and learning, curriculum and teaching practices. We were able to implement the SEEDS curriculum across all our program models, so within the in-person as well as a virtual program, having a training and coaching support to ensure that our staff are implementing the SEEDS curriculum to fidelity, providing ongoing follow-up and support throughout their instruction. We were also able to focus on the child development and learning through our classroom assessments, as well as ongoing support for the instruction of the children during the virtual and the in-person support. We are also focusing on equity, diversity, and inclusion, providing increased scholarships for our children to ensure they have increased access to our quality program. For this coming year, we will be again providing in-person recreation program at all 13 community centers. In adherence to the public health guidelines, we are still awaiting to determine if we will be at full capacity or we will be limited to no more than 12 children per classroom. We will also survey families to assess their interest in our virtual recreation preschool program. For the first time this year, we launched our virtual program and it was very popular. For each classroom session, we have over 100 kids participate in our classroom. So we are confident that this is a new program approach that many families will be interested that we continue, but we will be surveying them to ensure that it's the program model that they anticipate and would want. Next slide.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Lauren Hancock. I'm with the Expanded Learning Unit, the San Jose Public Library, and Laura Buzo from Parks and Rec and I will be talking about learning at grade level, expanded education beyond the school day. Next slide. The city, primarily through PRNS and the library, provides several programs designed to enhance learning outside of the school day. On an annual basis, PRNS serves more than 4,200 unduplicated students through programs such as Recreation of City Kids at 26 after-school sites, After-School Education and Safety, commonly known as ACEs, at 4 sites and 12 teen centers, and a variety of camps throughout the year. Similarly, SJPL offers more than 9,600 free programs and activities designed for after school and summer at all of our locations throughout San Jose, with a total of attendance of 133,630 in program participation each year. Upon conducting an analysis of, oh, we're missing a slide. Danica, can you go forward for 1 sec, see if we have, no. We must have taken out the standard. Is there one that shows the quality standards? It should have 12 program quality standards. No, Lauren, I think that one was removed from the deck. I'm looking ahead.
Perfect. Okay. So we can go back to I guess the first slide with the guardian and the child, because this is a Parks and Rec slide. Perfect. Thank you. I will do my introduction here then. Sorry for the confusion. Okay. So upon conducting analysis and research of existing standards, the quality standards for expanded learning emerged as the choice for citywide adoption and implementation. These were created by the California Department of Education and already utilized by a vast majority of after-school providers, including all ACES funded programs, as well as Parks and Rec. The Expanded Learning Quality Standards California provided a common language and easily understood baseline for all of our expanded learning programs and the learning ecosystem in San Jose. Upon adoption of the quality standards, the City Council and city departments began applying these standards to our programs for expanded learning. We all work to identify and use appropriate assessment tools for each programs, and program assessments of our programs were interrupted by the COVID-19 closure of in-person programming and the delivery of seasonal programs. The full implementation of our quality standards has been delayed until 2021, 2022. However, staff are using them in program design and in our virtual programs. Next slide. Sorry, Laura, here you go. Parks and Rec.
It looks like Laura is frozen. Laura, are you with us? Okay, let's advance
go to the next one.
Yeah.
I can do this one. All right, public library implementation of 2019-2020 homework clubs. The homework club will continue to use the expanded learning quality standards as a guide for programming, and we will focus on assessment and reviewing the program for progress in all of the quality standards, but specifically for quality standard 6, diversity, access, and equity, and quality standards 9, collaborative partnerships. To speak to the first one, for extended hours in 2019-2020, they added on an extra hour of each day and expanded the homework clubs to also include art, music, and coding activities. And for the collaborative partnerships, the homework club at King engaged 30 volunteers, 28 CHAD students from San Jose University. And those parents surveyed reported that the students acted as college-age role models for students, and with a diverse background and language skills was a really important consideration for their participation in the homework club, and was really beneficial. Next slide. Okay, we'll go back to SJ Learns. SJ Learns initiative and grant program aims to bolster academic achievement by funding promising and innovative expanded learning programs that serve San Jose public school students, transitional kindergartners through 3rd graders. It was launched in 2015 by Mayor Sam Liccardo and was and continues to be shaped by the working group and advisory committee. The grant program provides local education agencies with resources that leverage their own expanded learning program budgets, as well as any providers that they select to increase the number of at-risk students attending high-quality expanded learning programs. As part of our grant requirements, grantees are expected to use the program quality standards, and they're expected to assess and engage in the CQI process. Additionally, as part of our community of practice, SJ Learns facilitates dialogue among our participating LEAs and our program providers, and contribute to the broader learning community to inform and understand best practices. That includes also shaping policy and aligning curriculum with in-school learning and alignment. In 2019-2020, the COP met quarterly and focused on continuous quality improvement and alignment on these 3 specific standards: safe and supportive environments, youth voice and leadership, diversity, access, and equity. One key finding that we found was the overlap between these 3 quality standards from the after school and summer programs and into the school day, and how might we bridge some safe and supportive environments that straddle the 2. In May 2020 of this year, last year, all SJ Learns grantees were given an opportunity to reallocate funds to support students in a meaningful way as identified in the context of distance learning. Proposals included digital inclusion tools of approved devices, supportive services for parents, updated training and protocol procedures related to reopening and facilitating on-site or virtual high-quality programs. All of the SJ Learns grantees took advantage of this opportunity and have been actively working to support students at their school in distance learning. Next slide. So the implementation plans for 2020 and 2021. The library program will continue to use the quality standards as a guide as well as assessing our programs. The SJ Learns grantee will continue to focus on the quality standards for 2020, 2021, likely adding a new quality standard of skill building to look at learning loss mitigation. And we'll also leverage a potential data zone partnership to assess and evaluate, collect data, and continue to work with social policy research associates. COP stands for the community of practice. Thank you for that question. Okay, next slide. For the implementation plan for 2021, I just read my notes from the last slide to this slide. Sorry, I'm a little thrown off with the reorder of the slides and with Laura not being here. So for 2021.
I'm sorry, I'm back on.
Okay, perfect.
I apologize for that. I got kicked out.
No, it's okay. I didn't want to do your slides, so I just sort of went forward ahead. So we can go back to
Thank you.
Your slides, Laura, if we want to do that. Should we do that now before we go through this slide?
Sure, why don't we?
Okay, perfect. Dana,
Right.
can we go back to the first one that has Parks and Recreation on it?
Sure. I think I know which one, but tell me to stop if I get it wrong.
Perfect.
So sorry, I got kicked out just as I was going to speak.
But you're here with us now.
There we go. So thank you, commissioners. My apologies. Like the library, the Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services is also using the expanded learning quality standards. We assess our programs 3 times a year, October, February, and May. This assures us the opportunity for continuous quality improvement so that we continue striving to elevate the quality of our programs. It may have been mentioned earlier, but just again, we do assess our programs on a rating scale from 1 to 3. So 3 being exceeds standards and 1 being needs improvement. As mentioned previously, we have 26 ROC after-school programs, 4 after-school education and safety programs, commonly known as ACEs, and these are grant-funded programs through Berryessa School District, Alum Rock Union School District, and ACE Charter School. We have 17 Camp San Jose programs. This past summer in 2019, we had 17. We had slightly different camps. As you may remember, this past summer, we had 38 programs. Through all of these programs, we use the early education quality standards in all these domains. The total possible score in each of these areas is 3, as I mentioned, and the average program score across our sites was 2. Again, striving for continuous quality improvement, we develop quality improvement plans for each program, site, and classroom. And we work closely with the staff providing guidance and support on the areas where they need improvement or additional training or technical support. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So for this fiscal year, we focused on the following quality standards: safe and supportive environments, active and engaged learning, youth voice and leadership, diversity, access, and equity, quality staff, clear vision, mission, and purpose. Again, striving for continuous quality improvement, we provide technical support and training to our staff. By offering the 3 annual assessments, we're able to closely monitor the programs, making sure that they're meeting the standards and receive continuous quality support, training, and technical support to ensure that we meet our goals. Next slide.
Before we move on to this slide, I'd like to just go back really quick and address the community of practice. The COP stands for Community of Practice. And this academic year, I was a little bit confused from this fiscal year to next fiscal year. The Community of Practice shifted its design and professional learning model to support our grantees. And that included going from meeting quarterly to meeting monthly, and having a much more regular communication with our leadership and our practitioners. And we also invited members and encouraged them to become official collaborators based on their expertise and interest. And they have been involved in the planning and facilitation of the sessions, and this has enhanced the level of engagement and provided members with the opportunity to share firsthand knowledge to develop facilitation skills. And these were the 3 quality standards that the COP this year, by meeting monthly and through Zoom, have really worked on and addressed. Thank you. Now we can go to the next slide. Laura, you want to go ahead because I talked about this already.
Sure. So for next fiscal year, with our Rock and Learn and our ACES program, we will continue to focus on the quality standards with an added focus on our equity, diversity, and access. We're looking in particular, expanding our affordability for the program. As was mentioned in previous presentations, many of our programs are fee-based, and we know that this can pose a barrier for families. We have learned in this year that when you provide scholarships, that provides full subsidized costs for enrollment, your enrollment increases at sites. And so it's a great learning opportunity. We know that families want and need some of these programs, and the only way that we can really increase access is by exploring scholarship opportunities and or reducing the cost so that families again have access to these programs. So we'll be paying particular attention to this area, especially as we emerge out of the pandemic and many families are facing financial challenges due to business closures and unemployment. So it is an area that we're very committed to working on for this next year. Next slide.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lizzie Nolan and I'm with the library, and I will be presenting on college and career readiness with my I almost called him my pal. You are my pal, my colleague, Adrian McBride. We're giving you the Irish group today. Next slide, please. So the library strives to provide a continuum of college and career readiness program to youth and adults. Students throughout the city may participate in programs like SJ Aspires or their local Teens Reach branch, or their Teens Reach program, which provide volunteer and community engagement leadership opportunities for students. Furthermore, middle and high school students can visit the Teen HQ at the Dr. Martin Luther King Library, access resources, equipment, and programs such as computers, makerspace, a gamer lounge, and a recording studio. You can see we have a large attendance of teens, not only at our library programs, but volunteering with us to earn those community service hours and have some community engagement, and you can see the number of hours there as well. Also in December of 2020, the College and Career Readiness Standards was adopted by City Council. They were developed by an ad hoc committee of college and career leaders from a variety of secondary schools, post-secondary schools, nonprofit and government organizations that support college and career readiness. The library will pilot the implementation of these standards throughout San Jose with the San Jose Aspires program in 2021, with a larger application to the other college and career readiness programs to follow after the initial implementation. Next slide.
Thanks. And then like Lizzie mentioned, my name's Adrian McBride. I'm a community programs administrator with the San Jose Public Library. First thing I sort of want to give you an update on is the San Jose Aspires program. We piloted this program over the last 2 years, and in this third year, we were able to expand it to approximately 675 students at 3 different high schools throughout San Jose. In January, we also launched a student portal that students can log in on and submit evidence for their award, or submit documents for their awards and track their progress in the program. And then we've also recently finalized an agreement with San Jose Public Library Foundation, the partner school districts, and Citibank to host essentially savings accounts for students as they earn these awards. We hold on to the money as they earn them. And then once they verify enrollment in post-secondary school, then we distribute the funds directly to the student. Just a brief rundown of our pilot results. To date, we've distributed over $27,000 to students throughout San Jose. 52% of those students are going to community colleges. Most of those are, as you imagine, San Jose City College and Evergreen Valley College. And then out of our pilot cohort, 82% of the students identified as first generation college students. So they were the first person in their family going to college. Next slide, please. And then as part of my work, I work with Partners Learning. We have quite a few programs there. I'm gonna give you a deeper breakdown later on this evening, but 2 of them that I would like to highlight are the Career Online High School program. That provides an online high school diploma and career certificate to adult learners. These are adults who either did not earn a diploma for a variety of reasons. For 2019 through 2020, we awarded 51 scholarships and we had 39 graduates. To date, we have over 112 graduates. We recently, over the weekend, we had about 4 more students complete the program. And then we are piloting a smaller program in partnership with study.com called Working Scholars, similar to Career Online High School. This gives students the opportunity to earn a bachelor's degree online. We received grant funding from the California Library, California State Library, sorry, to support this program. We had 6 students become part of the program initially, 4 remain active, and we have 2 that are on track to graduate in the first part of 2021. After they graduate from the first portion of the program, they will move to a partner institution to finish out the rest of their degree. So the program is split up. 90 units they earn with Working Scholars, and then the remaining 30 units they earn with the partner institution and receive their diploma directly from that partner institution. Next slide, please. And then as Lizzie mentioned a little bit earlier, we did finalize the college and career readiness standards in December. And this is a brief outline of the implementation plan with, we're working on developing an assessment for it, as well as finalizing a citywide college and career readiness logic model, which will give us a good overview of all the different college and career readiness programs throughout the city. And then as Lizzie mentioned, we will pilot the standards with San Jose Aspires, and then use lessons learned from that to broaden the standards to college and career readiness programs throughout the city. Next slide. Thank you.
San Jose Works is the Youth Jobs Initiative, is a partnership between Work to Future and the Mayor's Gang Prevention Task Force. It is in its 6th year. And during the 6th year, they had paid internships with, you can see the variety of different sectors there, as well as older youth placed in employee paid unsubsidized job opportunities. I will plug the library as part of this work as well. Teenage Q was able to host some students both in the summer and in the fall and winter program, and again in the spring program. Next slide, please. This is just a deeper dive into those numbers and into the quality assessment areas in which they correspond. These numbers are based on the total to date, and due to the pandemic and restrictions on in-person placement, Work to Future may not reach its intended goals. Next slide.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Samantha Kramer. I'm the Education and Programming Services Manager for the library. I'll be joined by my colleague Carla Alvarez and Laura Buzo from Parks and Rec to speak on our efforts in the area of digital literacy. City staff, as you know, has consistently looked at digital literacy through the lens of the 3 A's: access, affordability, and adoption. By working to increase the 3 A's, all San Jose residents and learners will have the opportunity and knowledge required to utilize existing and emerging technologies to their fullest potential. Next slide, please. SJPL worked hard over the course of fiscal year 1920 to ensure substantial progress was made toward our digital inclusion goals, especially in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. We developed an assessment tool for the digital literacy quality standards. This tool creates a user-friendly checklist whereby participating organizations can rate themselves in each of the digital literacy quality standard focus areas in order to establish a baseline rating for their program. This assessment tool is designed to measure the quality of the program content and its delivery, and users may score not met, basic, emerging, or advanced according to the definitions in each focus area as outlined in the quality standards. The tool also provides space for reflection and planning on how users may work to eventually meet the advanced rating, allowing for continuous quality improvement in every program. This assessment tool will now be implemented along with the quality standards as a whole in the pilot programs outlined in the implementation plan previously presented, with the goal of expanding to additional city and digital inclusion fund related programs in subsequent fiscal years. And of course, in order to better meet the needs of our underconnected or high needs households, SJPL also worked to circulate devices and provide digital literacy programming. We did this in 2 main ways with an overarching digital literacy component. Our 2 programs include a device lending program through SJPL branch locations and a loan to own program with refurbished laptops, with digital literacy training as a key component of each of these programs. We have 35 device kits, a laptop, a hotspot, and all its charging pieces are available for general circulation at 5 branches currently. We will be soon adding many additional devices to that circulation. And in terms of our refurbished devices, we have given so far 186 refurbished devices away in a partnership with the CalWorks Social Services Agency, beginning in November of 2020 and concluding in February of 2021. We also have hosted many digital literacy courses through our FLC coordinators, our family learning centers. They have hosted synchronous Zoom-based digital literacy courses in English, Spanish, and soon Vietnamese for adults, including instructions and phone walkthroughs for learners who are not comfortable using Zoom yet, to make sure that they can download, do anything that they need to do to get Zoom set up on their home devices. And we also created an asynchronous Learn As You Go course via the online learning platform Articulate, which is available to everyone through the SJPL website. And I will now kick it over to Laura to speak to their efforts in this area.
Thank you. PRNS is also working on digital inclusion and literacy efforts. Over the course of the last year, we've been able to leverage our resources by seeking and receiving grants through the California Emerging Technology Fund, Kaiser, AT&T Tech for Good, as well as SourceWise. As a result, we've been able to purchase approximately 100 computers with additional hotspot devices that we can make available to our program staff as well as to community members. We have also been providing information and application support to families and eligible community members on affordable internet services, understanding that many families do not have internet services and often don't know where to go to be able to access. So we have been able to provide in-person enrollment support in adherence to public health guidelines. Over the course of the last 6 months, we've been able to enroll 150 households in affordable internet service. In addition, we are also addressing literacy gaps among older adults, youth, and low resource communities by providing digital literacy classes. We will be launching these in the spring, offering them throughout the summer and next fiscal year. Next slide.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Carla Alvarez, and I'm the Community Programs Administrator for Equity and Inclusion Services at the library. And regarding digital emergency efforts in the context of social distancing and in-person services interrupted by the pandemic, digital connectivity is a lifeline for residents to access essential services and participate in our community programming. By September of 2020, SJPL successfully procured 15,800 hotspots to support the connectivity needs of San Jose students and residents. 12,800 were delivered to local education agencies, and 3,000 hotspots became part of the library's general circulation. These efforts became what we now know as the SJ Access Initiative, with the coordinated goal of providing students and residents with access to all things digital: internet, free Wi-Fi, computing devices, and digital literacy and learning opportunities. As we noted in the previous slide, the library had already planned to include computing devices into the catalog pre-pandemic. With the pandemic's changes, however, including the inability for patrons to use the tech stations in the branches, we secured additional funding to expand availability of devices to include more Chromebooks and tablets in the next quarter. From the very onset of the initiative's planning, equity and inclusion was the forefront of these efforts. While there were many inequalities already faced by many in our communities prior to the pandemic, digital inclusion efforts needed to prioritize areas with higher disparities and socioeconomic vulnerability in order to prevent an even greater unequal access to services and digital transitions. The first months of the initiative were thus reserved to prioritize community members who were underconnected or unconnected. We created a hotspot priority reserve for SJPL's program participants and for interested community-based organizations to refer their participants. The library's Maker Spaceship continues to make stops around the city to conduct mobile hotspot checkouts for those who may face transportation challenges and other factors. And dozens of CBOs, businesses, and places of worship were provided with multilingual outreach material to help us reach our diverse community members in a variety of ways, including flyers, postcards, banners, radio segments, PSAs, and guest presentations. Next slide, please. And then we also included, the city also focused on providing additional Wi-Fi network access at some public facilities in partnership with the Eastside Union High School District. For the Access Eastside Community Wi-Fi project, staff coordinated with staff departments, the Eastside Union High School District and the Santa Clara County Office of Education to develop a strategic approach to expanding the project to 8 high school attendance areas in the district. Through shared investment, these networks are projected to serve both the Eastside Union High School District academic community and approximately 305,790 individuals when completed. James Lake, Overfelt, and Yerba Buena attendance areas are all now active and available for residents and visitors in this coverage area. We are in the planning stages for Mount Pleasant, which will also serve the Silver Creek attendance area, and Independence and Andrew Hill attendance areas are in the design stage, followed by Oak Grove, which will begin in April. We also work with the city's Information Technology Department and Public Works to strengthen and expand outdoor Wi-Fi into public spaces around 9 library branches and 5 community centers listed on this table. These sites were identified using an equity review of census data, in addition to infrastructure constraints related to fiber backhaul available. And as of February 5th, 2021, all sites listed are operational. Next slide. This past year has given us insights into planning for the needs and programming opportunities in digital equity, according to the city's 3A's digital inclusion framework. We have been gathering community feedback on digital needs through surveys, focus groups, and community conversations that will guide service and programming plans for the upcoming fiscal year. With these inputs in mind, we developed a 2-year plan for our digital equity work and focus our pandemic recovery efforts to intentionally address the populations that have been historically underserved and ensure that recovery in our new normal is one that is more just and equitable. Therefore, we developed the following theory of change. The City of San Jose will reduce San Jose's digital divide by targeting historically underserved community groups to provide learning opportunities, access to tech equipment, and digital resource information in order to advance social and economic equality. Our goal is to serve 2,500 patrons through 4 main strategic objectives. 500 adult learners demonstrate digital literacy proficiency in alignment with our digital literacy quality standards. Provide access to digital tools to 2,500 community members. Prepare a diverse next generation of tech leaders through Coding 5K and STEM programming for youth, and develop additional resources for ongoing tech support. Digital literacy classes will focus on reaching adult learners with little to no and intermediate tech skills, including specialized workshops such as online banking, telehealth services, and job seeker support. The library will also continue to build on its successful coding and STEM programming to support the diversification of the tech workforce by prioritizing learning opportunities for youth that identify as Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and from other communities of color, as well as gender diversity. Based on overwhelming support from patrons expressed during SJ Access community conversations, SJPL will maintain 2,000 hotspots and add 1,000 computing devices as part of the library circulation materials in the next fiscal year. And this scope of work was formed based on the first 6 months of implementing the SJ Access initiative, as well as feedback gathered from community members, local education agencies, and other digital inclusion stakeholders. Next slide, and I will pass it on to Anne.
Thanks so much, Carla, and to the whole team. It's always fun to watch you all present because you're just phenomenal. So our last plank of the EDL, as you all know, is policy and governance. And Danica, you can go ahead and advance. You'll all remember right before the pandemic, when we didn't know what was ahead of us, we passed the city's first education policy then in February 2020. And I have to tell you that we knew that that policy was important. We knew it was necessary to really codify the city's responsibility and values around education. What we didn't know was that that policy would be leaned on heavily to validate and justify our education response through the pandemic. So the city's education policy has actually, not only has it helped us raise philanthropy dollars that help our programs run, but it has justified to everyone from Congress to FEMA to our own colleagues at City Hall why we needed to take aggressive measures during the pandemic to ensure that our students had access to resources that would promote and advance their education. So hooray to us for passing a policy, because we really, really needed it and we didn't realize how badly we did. Within that policy was the reframing of the School City Collaborative, which used to meet quarterly, so 4 times a year. And even through this tumultuous year, we've been able to do some reorganization of it. The policy calls for the collaborative to meet twice a year and include representatives from charter networks or any local education agency. And so we have expanded its membership. We have moved to a twice a year meeting cadence. And through the pandemic, we've had this iterative work plan, but we're excited to be getting back into a regular cadence of work plans, working groups, biannual meetings. And through the work of the School City Collaborative, almost because of the pandemic, the schools have really taken us up on the joint school library card initiative and run with it really quickly. So Lauren is going to take us through the next few slides to talk through the partnership, which she has really led. But before I go on, Janice, I do want to answer your question in the chat. We don't have teachers in the School City Collaborative yet. The membership is really the superintendents or executives or their designees. But when we get out of the pandemic and into more of a working group structure where we can have a less hectic, less emergency set of priorities, we do look forward to superintendents designating people who are not in their administration and doing more work with a broader audience, which will also include school board members. So we are excited to expand reach of the school city collaborative. We just need to get through the pandemic first. So we'll go ahead and advance the slide. I will pass it over to Lauren, who's going to talk to you about the value of the school library card initiative and the progress that the team has made.
Yeah, so thank you, Anne. The Student Library Card Initiative launched a similar time as the education policy. So our first school district received cards in late 2019, maybe November, December of 2019, and it really started to gear up January, February. And we had set out a big launch with San Jose Unified and Alum Rock early March 2020. We've come so far since then. And so in 2019, 2020, these are our local education agency partners. And we, with over 59,000 students receiving cards in 2019 and 2020. With the exception of Luther Burbank, all of them are digital cards, so students can access their cards online and reserve books and pick things up. And so all of these partners do have digital or virtual cards. Next slide. And then our 2020-21 partners, we have, some of them are still pending. We're working through some MOUs or data transfers like Berryessa, Eastside, Evergreen, and KIPP San Jose. The others, Cambrian, Downtown College Prep, Franklin McKinley, and Oak Grove all did receive student library cards this year with a total, we don't have a total of the students that received cards this year. But by the end of 2021 fiscal year, we will have reached over 70,000 students through these additional partnerships. For 2021-2022, we do have another 4 LEAs coming on board, Campbell Union High School District, Notre Dame, Downtown, and 2 others that are not listed here that I can get if anyone's interested. We also did launch the San Jose Public Library Educator Card, and at time of print, we had 77 educators sign up for our educator card, which is fantastic. Through the partnership over the past year with the student library cards, we've been able to do virtual class visits and maker spaceship visits and really tighten up the partnership and outreach and efforts between our branches and our librarians and our schools and our teachers. And so this has been a wonderful partnership that was just catapulted by the pandemic to really get library resources in the hands of students. And so we're really proud of the partnerships that we created in 2019, 2020, and also this fiscal year as well. Thank you. Next slide.
So I'll just round us out here. That was a huge presentation. It's a huge body of work, and we really appreciate everyone's ongoing attention to it as we've been developing these bodies of work for years now, and you have all been so supportive and appreciative of the work. And we couldn't have done it without you. Like, you started the quality standards. You set the standard literally for how the framework should be. And so we want to share our immense appreciation to the commission for its support. And I want to share my deep gratitude and admiration to the team who has done this work so diligently and with so much heart and care for the community and dedication to excellence. With that, we would love to take your questions.
Thank you, Anne, and I apologize to Araceli, Samantha, Lauren, Elizabeth, Adrian, Carla, Vidya, Laura, and Monique for not introducing you at the beginning as well. So thank you for such a thorough presentation. We'll open up the floor for questions. Are there any questions for our presenters today? I'm a former kinder teacher, so we will have that wait time. Other questions?
Well, I guess I'd just like to say it's really nice to see that the work we did on that career readiness standards has been put to such amazingly great use. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivers. Other comments or questions for folks that are presenting? All right, thank you again. This is wonderful. It's great to see just all the amazing work that our library system is doing, ranging from handing out technology to policy work to early education standards. It's pretty awesome what our library system is able to do. And as you said, Anne, it's because of such a wonderful team that we have in our system. Thanks, folks. This is an informational item, so there is no need for a vote. So I believe we can move on to our next presentation, which is an update on adult literacy programming from Carla Alvarez and Adrian McBride, correct? They'll provide an update on the status of our library's current adult literacy programs.
Vice Chairman Garnier, before we move on, we do still have.
Yes, thank you. Yes, let's, I believe, point of clarification, I believe we need a vote to go back. Is that correct? Or a motion to go back? Or can we just go back directly in the agenda?
I think we can just go back.
All right, so let's go back to public comment. Let's see if we can get this working this time. Fingers crossed. We'll have 2 minutes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes. Hello, Ben. You have 2 minutes. We can hear you. Thank you.
Right, 2
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for your patience earlier. I apologize. I think it was just a sign that my computer has finally met its end life. But that was a very insightful presentation, and it's very similar to why I'm joining you all tonight, because I heard just a much shorter summary of that presentation by this team here at the city manager's office town hall meeting earlier this morning. And I would like to just continue to introduce myself, as Anna had already done. My name is Benjamin Martinez. I do work with the City of San Jose Library Department. I've been working there for 15 years now. I started as an aide at the Biblioteca Latino, I'm sorry. I was introduced to the library at the Biblioteca Latinoamericana Library, but I started as an aide at the Willow Glen Library, both small libraries that are very in tune with their communities. And that's why I've stuck around this long. And as well as my role as a library assistant now at the library, I also am the executive director of stewards for the library department, representing MEF. And I would just like to join you all tonight to air some sentiment of gratitude that we have for you all you commissioners with us, because we consider you all allies of our library department and the communities that we serve. And we really couldn't have the resources to continue to provide these sort of services to the public without you all advocating for us with the council members and the community members. It was very good to hear all of the hard work that all our department has been putting together. Thank you all for all that. But I would like to also share that times are very strenuous. And that's something that everybody's concern was, to try and get updates from the city manager earlier today. And I just wanted to make sure that you all understood, if it wasn't obvious enough from that helpful presentation, that we do provide essential services to the communities that are in most need, which is the big push in this campaign to address issues of equality and equity. And a lot of my colleagues who have done a fantastic job. I've worked with many of, or at least most of the people who had just presented within our respective department. You all do a good job, but we do it with a smile on our face, even when it's hard. Technical difficulties, a perfect example. We just have to keep pushing through. So I would just like you all to take time to continue to advocate on our behalf, to let the council members know that we can't continue to provide these services without the proper resources to do that. And there are lots of issues as we're gearing towards reopening that a lot of the staff and my colleagues that I represent for are concerned about. And we really can't accomplish that without the full support of the city council and some sort of compensation for the hard work we continue to do for the communities. We can't continue to build such a strong effort with just pencils and paper. We really need more resources to accomplish this great work that we're doing. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Martins. We appreciate your advocacy. We appreciate you for taking the time to participate in public comment. And do we, or Danica, do we have any other folks that are here for public comment? If not, thank you again for reminding me. We can move on to our update on our adult literacy program.
Currently, we just have Mr. Martinez, and he's just gone, so we're able to move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Of
So I believe we're kicking it off to Carla and Adrian.
Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Adrian McBride. I'm the Community Program Administrator with Partners in Reading, and then I'll be doing this presentation alongside Carla Alvarez, who is Community Program Administrator in Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief summary of the work that Partners in Reading did in fiscal year 2019 through 2020, as well as a update on adjustments we've had to make to accommodate the issues related to COVID. So up to this point, up through 2019, 2020, PAR provides one-on-one and small group instruction, usually through the form of volunteer tutors. We do English language learner classes. Typically, these are at King Library. And then we also do them through partner institutions such as Santee Elementary. We do creative writing workshops. We do an annual anthology of learner work. We provide computers and digital resources to learners. And we coordinate with SJPL Works to try to work with students or work with adult learners as they progress through their career. So in 2019 through 2020, we had 231 learners and 220 volunteer tutors who worked with those learners for a total of about 11,000 instructional hours. Next slide, please. So Partners in Reading, we break it down into 4 main programs. We have the Career Online High School, which I spoke about a little bit earlier today, which we just passed 110 graduates in the lifetime of the program. We have ELL classes. I believe we had 48 students in those classes in 2019 through 2020. We have PAR, so Partners in Reading. This is the one-on-one adult literacy tutoring. And then we have Together We Read, which is a family literacy program where families with children ages 14 and under receive free books as long as the families have to have a PAR learner in them, but the children get free books every quarter or so. And then for 2019, 2020, we distributed over 500 books to 58 families. Next slide, please. And then, of course, COVID hit towards the end of that fiscal year, and we had to make some adjustments. Digital devices, we were fortunate to be part of the library's allocation of SJ Access hotspots. We were able to distribute those to PAR learners who needed them and PAR families who needed them. We recently purchased some Chromebooks, and we were lucky to be part of the library's holiday laptop drive, and we will begin distribution of those laptops later this month or early next month. Digital literacy, because of the nature of the program, we do have a lot of learners who are uncomfortable or unfamiliar with digital literacy or with digital tools. So we did, including we also have we had quite a few tutors who are uncomfortable using digital tools as well. So we had our literacy program specialists provide one-on-one support to both learners and tutors as they sort of transition to using Zoom, Teams, Google Hangout, or whatever Google's calling their version of it now. Whatever method was most comfortable for the PAR learner and the PAR tutor. We continue to email and mail instructional materials. So these are everything from flyers to workbooks. For workbooks in the past, we would mail them to the tutors and the tutors would share them in the lessons. Now we mail them to both the tutors and the learners so that they can work on the same stuff from a distance. For learner support, we've transitioned into small group classes. These typically have 6 to 8 learners in them. They're usually centered around a theme and then provide learners an opportunity to speak individually and get comfortable speaking in public settings. And then we also have an online program called Lexia Core 5, which is sort of a literacy program for low-level learners. We are in the process of developing an online tutor training program. We are kicking it off next Wednesday. Actually, March 24th is the first orientation through the online. So we are going to be doing an online orientation. Then we have some modules that the students are going to complete online, and then do 2 virtual trainings in April. And then those tutors will be approved and ready to go. And we already have a few students who are waiting for tutors that we'll be able to pair them up with. We were able to continue on a limited basis a ELL class. So before I mentioned we would have the class at Santee Elementary. Now we transitioned to Sacred Heart Community Services. We did a partnership with them for the ELL class, and that class is offered online. Books, TWR mailings continued, so there was really no change there. For Career Online High School, the only transition we really had to do was move the interviews from in-person interview to virtual interviews, as well as the orientation. Previously it was in person, and now it's virtual. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Hello, and so the Family Learning Centers, or the FLCs, provide a range of programs and services to improve the quality of life for underserved and underrepresented communities. There are 7 FLCs located in Central and East San Jose, nestled in our branches, in areas with higher socioeconomic disparities. These branches are Bascom, Biblioteca Latinoamericana, Alum Rock, East San Jose, Carnegie, Hillview, Seven Trees, and Tully. And each of these FLCs are staffed by a full-time coordinator who is there to provide individual support and spend time conducting outreach in the community at various events. This is when it was before the pandemic. They would also go out into different community events and table and represent the library. Next. This fiscal year, the FLCs served 33,389 patrons in a variety of ways, and representing a 159% increase from the last fiscal year. The FLCs are designed to support community members in different ways, including immigration status changes and establishing partnerships with nonprofits specializing in immigration legal services, English language learning clubs and classes, computer instruction, workshops for parents and other support groups, information, guest presentations, and referrals regarding applications for issues of unemployment, housing, food application assistance, as well as programming directly in Spanish and Vietnamese, as well as dedicated areas within each of these branches with specialized collections, technology desks, and classrooms. Next. The FLCs, some of the highlights of the FLCs offered in terms of programming this past year included Resilient Families in partnership with Sacred Heart Community Services for families expecting a child through 3 years of age, several immigration study groups, workshops, mock interviews, and information about immigration status changes. We work closely with PARS Equality, International Rescue Committee, and attend workshops with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services throughout the year. There are also a host of conversation and grammar practice clubs, as well as classes that are taught in partnership with Eastside Union High School District and Campbell Adult Community Engagement. FLC coordinators are key partners to branch libraries at the Family Resource Centers, leading story times, updating collections, and supporting with special events. Furthermore, Alum Rock and Bascom branches also coordinate with other SJPL staff to host insiders programming featuring arts, crafts, and cultural celebrations for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. These are just some of the many programs that the FLCs offer throughout the year. Next. We all had to make adaptations for the pandemic, including moving to virtual settings and starting new programs in response to the changing needs. One of the new programs the FLCs incorporated was the creation of the Community Connection Hour, a weekly series hosted by FLC coordinators to connect the general public to critical resources. This weekly program rotates subjects and features guest presentations and information regarding things like unemployment and housing and food assistance application, job seeking tips, and providing a space for overall community building. Beginning in November 2020, the FLCs also began offering synchronous digital literacy classes, as we mentioned in the previous presentation, following the curriculum adapted from the California Emerging Technology Fund. This is an 8-hour series where learners review the basics of computing devices, learn how to create an email account, how to navigate the internet, and find basic information online. It is available in English, Spanish, and we are recruiting Vietnamese learners right now to begin offering that cohort soon. Since the learners self-report as no to limited tech knowledge, to little to no limited tech knowledge, FLCs spend about an hour with each learner in advance of every cohort, walking them individually through how to install Zoom on their phones or computing device and testing the setup in advance, as well as sending them reminders at their request to ensure everyone is ready to start by the first class. Many of the learners continue to sign on to other library programs and report using the library's e-resources as a result of their new acquired knowledge and their continued involvement in the library. Next slide. In times of crisis, it is all the more important to adopt an equity approach and ensure that our most underserved community members are included and supported in programming and services. Both PAR and FLC programming are designed to serve community members from more vulnerable contexts. In the context of this pandemic, this has meant broadening our outreach strategies to tactics that went beyond social media or tech-based. Staff spent more time calling partners, local leaders, and finding out about emerging information outlets to ensure patrons are attuned to learning opportunities. The many changes that arose this past year also meant that staff have invested more time in individual relationship building, understanding individual and household needs, navigating the changes to local public services, and building trust. It has meant closer accompaniment with individual members who often self-report as having no digital literacy skills and spending that much more time on the phone walking patrons through how to install all of these applications so that they can continue their learning journeys. For the FLCs in particular, providing programs in different languages has meant that it's a critical barrier removed so that they can continue to access information and skill building opportunities. It can be challenging to ask for help and admit feeling overwhelmed and stressed. This year has asked a lot of everyone, even more so for the many community members whose safety net has a very limited margin of error. PAR and FLC programming provide a safe space and opportunity for continued learning, and patrons continue to ask for more programming for monolingual speakers beyond English and have greatly expressed support for the community building and peer support opportunities that this program has offered for them. Next slide. Last but not least, for the next fiscal year and the last stages of this past fiscal year, we focus very much on transitioning our programming and services on digital inclusion, as we have heard throughout the presentations today. And some of the following ways in which we have done that is providing technical support through telephone, Zoom, and WhatsApp, online classes, clubs, and tutoring, providing those Wi-Fi hotspots, providing refurbished computing devices and adding that to the catalog circulation, and spending time and showing learners and patrons how to use and navigate the SJPL website and access e-resources. So without further ado, we now open it up, next slide, for questions from the commissioners and or the public.
Thank you so much. Let's open it up for any questions from the public or from any commissioners. Questions or comments? I think Tom has his hand raised.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you all. A fantastic effort on behalf of PAR. I was an ex-PAR tutor, and I was always wondering what was going on with those folks. I remember tutoring a couple individuals that were high school graduates, but they could only read about the 3rd grade level. And I was working with those people, and I just wondered, they're obviously adults, and I was just wondering where they were serviced. And it looks like a great job. I mean, I'm just blown away by the shape of PAR now. So great job, everyone. And I'll think about volunteering again, maybe. Food for thought. Thank you, guys.
Other questions, comments, Adrian?
I was just going to say thank you. And if you want to volunteer, we have our next orientation on the 24th, and then next one after that about 2 months later.
There you go. A week from today. Other comments or questions for our presenters? Hillary.
I just wanted to say thank you for the excellent presentation, and really both presentations this evening have been excellent. Just wanted to say that I appreciated and all the presentations, the emphasis on equity. That's been really helpful to see just how the programs are being evaluated and adapted to serve our community needs, especially the most vulnerable. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Floor is still open for comments and questions. All right, I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anyone unmuted. Thank you again, folks. Again, this is an informational piece. We appreciate the presentation. And again, I said this before, it's really awesome to see the work that our library is doing. That's truly transformational for communities that, frankly, you don't see in other cities. So great work, folks. Keep up the great work. And I'm very proud to be a part of this commission and to support the work that y'all are doing. Thank you again. All right, so I believe that is all our presentations for today. I believe now we can move on to council liaisons announcement. I'm not sure if our council liaison is on at the moment.
I am here.
Yes, we have Miss Mariela Garcia from District 8. So last month we had the honor of having the council member here, but she's since hired a wonderful new staff member who's taking over. So sorry, Mariela, to interrupt. I just wanted to introduce you to everyone, to our lovely commission, who's phenomenal, and we'll be excited to see you on a monthly basis.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Mariela Garcia, and council assistant with Councilmember Readiness's office. I just joined, like Anne said, about a month ago, and I'm excited to be your council liaison moving forward. I know that Kylie has been representing our office, and don't worry, she is still around and still continues to support this work. And of course, as you all know, Councilmember Arenas has been pushing really hard to close the digital divide and really expand connectivity to our East Side students and our residents. And so in District 8, we are really looking forward to seeing connectivity expanded to Mount Pleasant and Silver Creek, which are two neighborhoods that have been, faced really firsthand the challenges of the digital divide. And so I know that there are timeline updates coming in April, which we're excited to hear about. And it's also equally as wonderful to know that our hotspots have been going out to so many folks in our community, because we're living in a time when connectivity is as important as ever, and something that has definitely been on Councilmember Arenas's mind is ways in which our digital inclusion efforts can target and support seniors. And so I was really excited to learn about the distribution of laptops happening later this month, and really the one-on-one support that folks are getting to access the programs. I also really wanted to acknowledge the public comment tonight. Ben, heard you really loud and clear on making sure that the library and all of our departments and programs serving our community have all of the resources that they need, and just wanted to thank you for uplifting that. And then finally, just wanted to take the opportunity to share an update on some recent processes. Councilmember Arenas introduced 2 new policy proposals in priority setting, which you may have heard about. And they were the Sexual Assault Bill of Rights, which was actually greenlit. And that means that work can move forward. And she also introduced a strategic alignment of youth development programs. And while that item was not placed high on priority, on the priority list, unfortunately, we really wanted to ask you, of course, for your continued support and advocacy in ensuring that that happens, that our programs are aligned and that our children have equitable access to programming. and that the programming that really promotes opportunities for the future. And I know that's something that you all are really passionate about. So yeah, just wanted to thank you for all of your work, for championing for our residents who need access to our city services now more than ever. And I'm really happy that I could join you this evening. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for such a thorough presentation. And as Anne said, we really do look forward to having you join us for monthly meetings and to hear what's happening in Councilmember Arenas' office as well as in City Council. I think you will know from us, we won't hesitate to reach out and to advocate for issues that are in favor and benefiting the library. So be ready and just name that. Any questions for Mariela from folks?
I would just like to say welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Floor is still open for any comments, questions. Okay, well, thank you again. We appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you again next month. Appreciate the update. So to move on to the next piece in our agenda, we have chair's announcements. I wasn't given any announcements to share, so I don't believe we have anything to share out. Danica, and anything that our chair had to share with the group? Doing some rhyming there.
This time.
All right, cool. So then we can move on to our next component, which is our library director's announcement, which I believe Anne will be providing a quick update.
I'm going to shoot it over to Michelle Ornat, our deputy director, who has those updates.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, commissioners. So it has been one long year since we've seen everyone in our branches. So today marks the 1 year anniversary from when we had to temporarily close our doors due to the pandemic. And even though we've had to face some challenges, the teams at all 25 locations have done an incredible job of continuing to provide our public with essential services. So whether it be Learning Pod at Mount Pleasant Library, to express pickup, to device lending, digital inclusion work, virtual programs, that the team has done nothing short of incredible this last year. The staff can still continue to innovate and to provide new types of ways that we're reaching our customers. And we're really excited and anxious to be able to serve people in person again. So we can't also thank the commission's support during this last year, and also our customers for their patience, and also for our partners for the support. So I did share a video in the chat that you guys can check out that our marketing communications team has put together to recap what has been going on this last year. As was mentioned earlier in the presentation, there is going to be more technology for the public to check out soon. And our members of our communities will be able to check out HP Chromebooks and iPads from the library. And Chromebooks will be available for checkout at all SJPL locations, and iPads will be available at 5 locations. And those are Alum Rock, Hillview, Tully, Seven Trees, and Educational Park. The Chromebooks were funded in part by KLA, and the iPads by a grant from Apple. And a huge thank you to San Jose Public Library Foundation for supporting us in these endeavors. Also, anyone with a library card will be able to check out a device. And this service is also a big part of our SJ Access initiative. And you can check more out about everything going on currently with SJ Access at sjpl.org/SJ Access. For some programming updates, Black History and Women's History Month speaker series. In celebration of Black History Month in February, library staff created a speaker series that features local women, and also, for Women's History Month, which is going on now, they're discussing their experiences and contributions to our community. This series includes a total of 8 events where stories are shared and new perspectives are gained on the experiences of women of color. The last 2 events are, one of them's tomorrow, Thursday, March 18th at 1 p.m. And then the last one is next Thursday at 1 p.m. Please check that out. It's a fantastic series that our staff has curated. And also we have new bilingual story times in Spanish and English. Early Education is launching a new bilingual online story time as part of its regular live programming. And families can now join twice a month for stories, songs, rhymes, and fun activities in both Spanish and English every first and third Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. And story times are also still being aired on Channel 26 4 times per week, every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., on Fridays at 8 a.m. and Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. And more information can be found at sjpl.org/early education. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Thank you for such a thorough presentation. Any comments, questions?
Don't see any hands.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. We'll move on next in our agenda, item 10.A, Youth Commission. I'm not sure if our Youth Commissioner is on at the moment. No? Okay. Seeing none, we can move to point B, meetings or announcements by commissioners. Floor is open.
I attended, it's just another, the Anti-Racist San Jose group that I'm one of the moderators for. I'm the District 2 moderator. It's a Facebook group, but we do things in the real world. Because I'm a commissioner, I was able to actually connect them with Jill for a, they wanted to do an anti-racist reading for kids. And so the two, we got to connect those together. So it wasn't exactly as a commissioner, but because I'm a commissioner, I was able to connect these two groups, and some super adorable kids got to hear some, really great anti-racist books out loud. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you. Other meetings attended by commissioners or announcements?
I'd like to announce that I'm fully vaccinated.
Yay.
Congratulations.
But my son still won't let me do anything.
Me too.
Well, you're supposed to wait 2 weeks after, right? Are you at your 2 weeks yet?
Yeah, it has been, but they're just extremely overprotective, as Anne tell you.
Well, Janet, I have him on text message right now. I'll make a note. I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
sure it's
because
coming
I
out of a
work in a
place of love.
custodial setting, I got to get mine just a little bit earlier too. So my 2 weeks ends on Monday, the 2 weeks after the second dose. So it's a huge relief.
Well, obviously,
Definitely.
I'm the senior citizen in the group here, so I had mine 2 weeks ago, my second one. And I'm
Nice.
still potting with the grandkids. I'm not allowed to get close to anybody, regardless.
Yeah.
Sure, it's coming from a
That's
place
hard.
of love. And congratulations to all those who've opted in and have been able to take advantage of that.
So wait, Tom, I just want to make sure, did you see the latest from the CDC on people who have been fully vaccinated? Because according to the CDC, you can hug your grandkids now.
Oh, I hug my grandkids as I've been potting with
Oh,
them.
okay.
So but the thing is can people that have had their second shot, can they still pick it up and pass it to someone else? And that's something I got to do a little more deep research on. So I'm still just potting. P-O-D-D, not pottying, potting.
Yeah, got it.
With my son and daughter on their kids. So end of story.
Well, with that, any other announcements or meetings attended by commissioners? All right, San Jose Public Library Foundation Board.
Hi, everyone. The board met this morning and had the first donor board training to prepare for interviewing and listening to donors to get their feedback as part of data gathering for the strategic plan. So that was a fun little event to try. And we also had a really excellent presentation given by Araceli and Deborah on the Child Caregiver Network program. So we've heard about that as part of the commission, but as with all the library presentations, I always learn something new. So thank you to both of them. Also coming up Tuesday, April 6th is National Library Workers Day. So thank your library staff that day. And as part of it, the foundation has a surprise for all the branches that is coming from a business that's worked with SJPL Works, which is really cool. And on Thursday, April 15th, the foundation is hosting Mayor Liccardo's SJ Aspires virtual fundraiser. So every attendee will be placed at a virtual table with students from the program so that they can get to know them. And the event has a $1 million goal, and they're very close to meeting that goal given the really enthusiastic response of potential donors to the program. So that's great news. Also, last meeting, I mentioned that there's an advocacy committee with members from the foundation board, Friends of the Library, and I'm on that committee as well. If anyone else from the commission is interested in participating, just let me know. But in terms of some of the updates that the advocacy committee has been working on, the foundation and the Friends sent letters to the mayor in advance of his March budget message. And we'll be sending letters to council members in the coming weeks in support of the library and maintaining the library funding. They'll also be attending the District 3 Town Hall that's coming up. So I just want to encourage all of you to get in touch with your council members in your district and encourage your networks to support the library. And we'll continue to share opportunities of when you can attend council meetings to make a public comment. So thank you all who have submitted comments for that process.
Thank you for the report on the San Jose Public Library Foundation Board. Any questions for Commissioner Thorson or anything else that we need to add for our Library Foundation Board report? I don't believe I see any hands raised or folks wanting to participate, so thank you again. Just a quick reminder for point 11 to visit sjpl.org for our program calendar for future events, but also want to hold space for folks to provide any information for upcoming opportunities for commissioners to participate. Floor is open. All right, moving on to the next item, item 12, items for future commission meeting agendas. Any folks want to recommend any items for a future meeting agenda? This is the space and time to do so. The floor is open. I see a hand raised. I believe it's Commissioner Thorson.
Based on Ben's comment earlier, I was wondering if at one of our future meetings, we could get an update on reopening and just the issues that have come up with that process so that we're aware of everything going on as we're advocating for the library.
Yes, we'll bring that back next month.
Thank you.
Thank you for the recommendation. Other items for future meeting agendas? All right, I don't believe we have any. So thank you all again for participating, for joining us today on this fine Wednesday. Just another friendly reminder that our next meeting is Wednesday, April 21st at 7 p.m. Appreciate it again. And with that being said, if there's nothing else, we will call this meeting to order at 8:44 and adjourn.
All right, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Thanks everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks for making my first meeting go smooth. I appreciate it.
Good job, Jose.
You did a
did
wonderful
awesome,
job.
Jose.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Great job,
Bye,
Commissioner Ray.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for all your help, y'all.
You did great. Thank you.
You did excellent.